Hi, you've reached Andy with Mountain Computers. Today is February 12th and it's a Tuesday. And I'm going to talk about firewalls today. The past couple of videos we've talked about home networking. I didn't really get into business networking too much, but I want to. I've noticed a few people have asked me for more information on networking, and especially some of my friends and colleagues and who've been hacked, and what their concerns are, and whether or not they have been hacked or not been hacked. And I wrote it on my blog, have you been hacked? What's your action reaction? But let's look at just a basic router. This is a sonic wall router. The router that I talked about the other day was just basically a Linksys router. Even the old ones have firewalls. So let's talk about what a firewall really is. A firewall is a barrier between the internet and you. And the only thing that comes through that firewall is what you allow it to. Okay, so the WAN port on a router is, and the LAN port on your local area network and the wireless, in between that is a firewall, a virtual, electronic, software-based, not hardware-based, firewall. There used to be hardware-based firewalls, and now there's software. And there's a couple of different types of firewalls. There's industrial-grade firewalls, and then there's home and consumer-grade firewalls, and then in between there's a whole bunch. But let's talk about what a firewall does. Say, for instance, the firewall is here, and this is me. I'm at home, and the internet is out there. Okay, so as you can see, my fingers. Okay, when I ask for something from the internet, I go across through my firewall out to the internet, and I bring back what I need. Okay, the internet may come to me from the outside uninvited, and they'll hit this firewall, and that firewall says, nope, can't get in, can't get in. Now, in firewalls, in the old days, they called them pinholes, and those are little openings that allows the internet to come through unobstructed and without being invited. Those pinholes come in on what's called a port. And a port number is, one, your internet address, that's the WAN address, that's your public address. But the port number, and there's 65,000 plus of those ports. Okay? So, and every port has a specific purpose. And for traffic, you can be talking symmetrically, bidirectionally to the internet, through your firewall, all at the same time. Different applications, different programs, different pieces of hardware. And so your firewall is really helping protect you from the bad guys. And the bad guys are out here trying to get into you and get into your stuff. So what we want to do is make sure, one, your firewall is protected and reset. And there's multiple firewalls, okay? So on some firewalls, they're at your PC. Your network cable that plugs into your PC or your wireless adapter has a firewall on it, and your PC has a firewall. A Mac has a firewall. Linux has firewalls. So those firewalls can be at your PC, at your router, at your internet service provider. So there's 1, 2, 3 possible firewalls. And so what I want to tell you is, if you allow a firewall port to come through somebody's hacking you, that opens it up, or something in your router is bad, programmed bad, that might allow the hackers or bad people to come in, or even people like script kiddies trying to get in. That's why it's important to be layered, have multiple layers of firewalls. Now, if you download something from the internet, like a virus, and it acts on your behalf as a human being, like clicking on stuff, the firewall isn't going to protect you. But the antivirus that you have, the firewall and the layers of firewalls are intended to help protect you. Say, for instance, in my business, I have multiple routers. I have multiple layers of routers. So in my business, I have Charter Internet. I have 1 router, 2 routers, 3 routers before you get to me. And every router is from a different manufacturer. And so there's all this pathing that has to go through from me to get to the internet, and the internet to get back to me. So that's basically what a firewall does. It protects the the bad guys from the outside from getting to you without your permission. And even if they do get through one part of your firewall, you'll have another firewall within. That brings up a very good point. What happens if one of your computers at home gets a virus? Do you think everybody gets a virus? No. Because you have firewalls at each computer, firewalls at each device. Only if everybody is sharing the same common repository of like music files or data files or whatever, that they can click on that file that one person got a virus on, the other people will also get a virus. What else? Firewalls. Can you turn them on? Yes. Can you reset them? Yes. That's one of the things we do here at Mountain Computers. The first thing we do is we look to see if you're a business or home user, reset your firewall. If you have an antivirus, Norton, McAfee, they have their own firewalls. Then Windows has its firewall. Norton, McAfee, Avast, Kaspersky, even though Kaspersky isn't allowed in the country anymore. ESET, Nod32, so on and so forth. Avira, AVG. This isn't a quiz on how many antiviruses I know. But all of them have a version of their firewall. So when they're running, the Windows firewall is off. And if they're not running, then the Windows firewall needs to make sure it comes back online. So when one antivirus isn't running, the Windows Antivirus Defender Microsoft Security Essentials should be in place. But back to the firewall. That firewall, let's just talk about the common ports for a firewall in a business and in home. So when you surf the internet, that internet traffic is on port 80. Generic, unsecured traffic. That's how it used to be for a long time. Now everything is becoming more secure. So this thing called SSL, Secured Sockets Layer, is on port 443. So from me to my bank, okay, a hacker or a sniffer or some man in the middle or some proxy, they can see that I am trying to contact one of my banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Umpqua, Heritage, whatever. Those banks, the hackers can see that I am here and I'm going there, but they can't see anything in between. They just know I'm communicating. They can see the traffic, but because it's on 443, that port number, through my firewall to the bank's firewall, we're secure. There's other port numbers. 21 used to be FTP. 22 is SSH. 23. 1033 for SQL databases. Gosh, the list goes on. So anyhow, the firewall, only unless you intentionally want to open up a port, one of those 65,535 ports, to allow traffic to come into you automatically, will you have a problem or a concern. Your IoT devices that talk to the internet, like your refrigerator, your home security, your video surveillance, all of those are on one of those ports that I was describing. So does your firewall allow them in by default? No. You have to allow them in. And if you do allow them in, you better make sure you have a strong password, and it's not the manufacturer's password of 1234, or password is password, admin. You have to have strong passwords. You really have to have strong passwords. And the other thing you need to do with a firewall is occasionally reset it. Now, if you're in a business, you don't want to do that because you may stop things from like file sharing and scanning from working. So be careful about resetting a firewall. If you replace your router with another router, by default, the firewall is on, and by default, nothing is permitted in. Those firewall ports, those are considered, you'll have access policies, permission policies. Those all can be controlled. What else? Firewalls. Can you tell if a firewall is on or off on your network router? No. The only way to check is to log into that router, log into the LAN side of the router, plug into your PC, and look to see what the configuration is. The only way to do that is to know the address, the LAN side address of your router. The only way you know that is by the help of somebody like me, or I can just give you the default IP addresses for most routers. The default router for Linksys, Netgear, SonicWall, AT&T, Charter, they're all like 192, 168, 1.1, 0.1, or 1.254, or 0.254, or 172.16 something 31. Some of the sonic walls, they're 182, 168, 167, 168. It's the actual gateway address to your router is your actual login address. So in your address bar in your browser, just type in 192.168.0.1 and see if something happens. Or 1.1, 192.168.1.1, or 192.168.1.254, or 192.168.0.254. And if none of those work, just keep playing around with it, or give us a call and we can tell you how to figure that out real fast. But it's important to have a firewall. It's very important to have a firewall. There are logs that show if the firewall is being attacked. Those will be considered dropped packets. And that's internet traffic. That's lingo for internet traffic coming at you. That's unwanted. Those packets come to you and get dropped. When you are surfing the internet, you will have data coming in and going, and that gets logged as well. The inbound, outbound, ingress, egress, they call it. What else? Firewalls. For troubleshooting, sometimes it's good to turn a firewall off. In an antivirus program like Norton or McAfee, sometimes it's better to, if things aren't working, either temporarily disable your antivirus to see if things start working. Then you know it's your antivirus that's causing your internet problems. And also to reset the default settings in your antivirus and reset the default firewall in your antivirus. In case something gets clicked inadvertently, when you get a pop-up and you're not paying attention, you click yes when you should have meant no. I think that's about it. I'm going to do a business version of firewalls and networking here shortly, so stay tuned. Subscribe, like, ask questions, send feedback, but more to come, and thank you for watching.